So much time has gone by since the Apple Watch was released a year ago. I have some things to say, but I promise I'm not going to talk for an hour. Just watch the video. Hello guys, how are you? David the Franco here from davidthefranco.com. I just can't help myself. I like time puns and watch puns, and I just like to have a good time. Seriously though guys, today's video is just whatever. I'm just gonna talk. There are no notes under the lens. See, proof, boom, no noises, right? But anyway, today's video is just a kind of my thoughts video. I'm gonna talk about the Apple Watch 1 year later and my honest thoughts about it. Now put all my Apple fanboyism aside, because some people still think I'm an Apple fanboy when I don't think I am. But that's beside the point. I'm just a huge Apple fan, let's just say that. So the Apple Watch. First of all, let me start by saying this. It's a device that I, on record, said quite a while ago that it just doesn't interest me. There's a small, like very, very, very tiny chance that I will actually take an interest. But as of right now, it's one of those rare Apple products that just does nothing for me. Yes, I actually came out and said the Apple Watch just doesn't interest me, especially if it's a glorified notification center or whatever I called it. And guys, you know what? I said the same exact thing about the iPad Pro. Not in regards to the notifications, obviously, but just the fact that it doesn't interest me. Yeah, there it is. And here this is. Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't always go by me. Never ever judge a product until you actually use it yourself, and until you actually fit it into your daily routine, if you will. Because honestly, I can't imagine my day without my iPad Pro. I mean, I use it every single day. And the same exact thing goes for the Apple Watch, especially the Apple Watch. I can't imagine my day without this. I actually talked about it in my Patrons Only vlog going live this Friday. I said the Apple Watch is kind of like when you leave the house with no bulge in your pocket. I know that sounds perverted, but it's the truth. I mean, when you leave your house and you don't feel your phone in your pocket, isn't that weird? And it's the same exact feeling with the Apple Watch. If I leave the house without this on my wrist, it just feels odd, because this is honestly part of my day now. And I think that's a big deal. Now, that's not to say the Apple Watch is perfect, because it definitely has many, many improvements that it could use. However, with that said, there are many things that I love about the Apple Watch. Number one, the design. Okay, so some people still think that the Apple Watch is ugly compared to other smartwatches, and I'm not gonna agree in saying it's ugly, but I will say I do wish it could look better, especially in terms of a circular form factor. So I'm hoping Apple does that with the Apple Watch 3. I don't see the Apple Watch 2 being a circle. It's a little too soon, but maybe with the Apple Watch 3 or 4. Now he's playing with a box in the kitchen. Apologies. Hey, it's my new battery-powered lawnmower. I know that sounds incredibly boring, but I'm actually quite excited about that. So anyway, from a design perspective, I don't think the Apple Watch is bad looking. It looks good. It's not something I'm embarrassed to have on my wrist. I mean, if anything, I enjoy showing it off. I like it. It looks great. But I do think it could be a little thinner. And I think that's pretty much a given in future Apple Watch revisions. So in terms of the UI, in other words, the user interface, it works. All right, so the watch faces are easy to use. They're customizable. The complications are fun. They're useful. But in terms of apps, I rarely go into the app view on my watch. You see that? I rarely see that screen. I'm normally here. Everything I usually need is typically on the watch face itself. Now, that's both a very good thing and a very bad thing for Apple. It's very good because that tells you that they did a good job at designing the watch face screen, the home screen, or whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't even call it the home screen, because the home screen is really the apps. At least in my opinion, because home screen on the iPhone is very similar. But it's also a very bad thing because Apple's not giving their users enough reason to use apps on the Apple Watch. Unless you fall into that small percentage of users who use their watch for maybe unlocking hotel room doors, playing back their music and controlling their music, unlocking their car with it, because all of that is possible. But that's the thing, even as a diehard Apple fan and a diehard technology fan like myself, I just don't use apps on the Apple Watch. Very rarely anyway. Sometimes I'll go in there to check my email, but if I'm gonna check email, I'm just gonna use my phone. But speaking in terms of it being a watch, I gotta say, it doesn't really disappoint me. I mean, it's a kick-ass time teller. Time teller, that sounds weird, but that's what it does. it tells time, and it does a great job at that. Again, the complications are easy to use. They make my day more interesting. I really enjoy notifications on the Apple Watch, which is something I didn't really expect to say because, as I've said in the past, I didn't want this thing to be a glorified notification center because I have my phone for that. But you know what? Because of the Apple Watch, I check my phone far less. So if I'm out and about, like at Wawa, holding a coffee, or shopping at Walmart or wherever, and I get a notification, no longer do I have to pull my phone out of my pocket. Now that sounds like a laziness thing. It's really not. It honestly comes down to convenience. I've had multiple instances where I'm carrying in groceries or whatever, my hands are full of bags, and I get an email, boom, I do this, I can read it right there without ever having to actually touch the screen because it automatically appears for me, the user. And I think that's powerful. That's a hands-free experience. Now speaking of hands-free, Siri still has a lot to be desired on the Apple Watch. Okay, so Siri is not completely useless on the Apple Watch because I do use her from time to time for setting timers, but other than that, Siri is typically slow. She doesn't actually verbally talk back, which is something I really want. And overall, I think she could use a lot more functionality because sometimes I get images in a text where it says I have to use my iPhone to view the image, but other times I don't have to use my iPhone. It appears on the watch. It's not very consistent. Okay, so I have a lot more to say, but I just want to wrap up this video with one very important fact. Battery life, it far exceeds my expectations. It honestly does. Battery life was one of my biggest concerns. It's one of those things where I'm like, well, I don't want it to charge it every night. While I typically do charge it every single night, it's not a big deal, especially with this band, which by the way, I will link on Amazon right below. I take it off, put it on the charger, very long cable by the way. It's magnetic, so boom, it works. And look, now it's charging. So that's one thing that I was very pleasantly surprised besides the notifications, is that the battery life is really good. Seriously, it is. There are times maybe where I'm camping or working with my dad and I don't have my charger nearby when I go to bed. I turn the watch off overnight and then I use it the entire next day and I still get a full day of usage. But on my average day where I do charge it every night, the battery life is usually around 40 or 50%. So what does that tell you? I think Apple definitely did a lot of research in regards to battery life because people don't want to have to worry about their battery life throughout the day. A watch, it should just work. And the Apple Watch, it does just that. So wrapping up this video, I gotta say my experience is positive overall. I have not gone a single day without wearing this. And I think that says a lot, guys. I mean, like my iPhone, it's now part of my daily routine. I can't imagine my life without my Apple Watch. That may seem dramatic, but guys, you gotta keep in mind, I was never a watch person. The fact that Apple can even interest me in watches, that's kind of a big deal. And because of the Apple Watch, I am interested in checking out the competition in regards to Android Wear and whatever else is out there. Because I gotta say, some of those watches do look better, visually anyway, than the Apple Watch does. But in terms of functionality, it does pretty much everything I need it to do in regards to keeping me up to date throughout my day. Okay, so of course I do have a lot more to say, but I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to talk about what I think are the most important aspects of the Apple Watch. And boom, there you have it. So guys, what do you think about the Apple Watch? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or do you just not give a shit? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.